Wow. Just wow. Thank you to everyone who participated in this year's Radiothon. The volunteers, the donors, the businesses, everyone. Thank you from the bottom of our microphones here at 91.3 FM CJTR. We could not do this without your generous support. The station would not exist. Today's guest is just a little more than familiar with cleanup. From spills and messes with a family of 5 to property restoration caused by water, fire, mold, and biohazards. This lady and her business show up when we are at our worst. We're going to talk today with Dianne Beauchamp, and she's the owner of Puroclean here in Regina, to tell us her story, where the business came from, and why she decided to get into this type of business. So, Dianne, welcome.
Thanks, Barb. I'm glad to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you here. So I know we've caught you first thing in the morning. The kids are still in the background. They haven't headed off to school. So you and I are both locked in our spaces to
Yes.
have our conversation. And inevitably, it'll either be a furry guest that comes to join us or a short leg that comes to join us, right?
Absolutely. One or the other.
Exactly.
Our husband passing coffee.
Yes, exactly. Equally important at this hour. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your business. How did you get started? What made you decide that you wanted to get into a restoration business?
My husband and I have been researching franchises for well over a year. We've been looking into anything from this, like disaster restoration, right through to a bakery. So it was,
Oh, wow.
that's kind of where we'd narrowed it down to the idea of waking up in the morning and making bread for people and making them happy. Made me happy, and also the idea of being able to facilitate and help and walk people through some difficult times. That also appealed to both of us. So my background is human services. My background is mental health. I've done work in both those fields with a customer service specialty. My husband's an engineer. He's a hydrologics expert. So his jam's water.
I was going to say water. He's all about the water.
Yeah, he knows water. Yeah. Water pipes, how water flows. So about a year ago, actually, it's October. So about a year ago, we were wheels up, ready to go with Puroclean. It took us a while to get there. Unfortunately, life happened, illness happened, a bunch of stuff happened, and things were put on the back burner. Until about February, where we were able to go and get our certification. So Greg got his in January. Myself and our project manager, who's actually my brother, who also has a background in human services. He worked at Cosmo for a while, but he's also got a background in construction. So, it really is a family-run business. We left for Florida in February and spent a month there getting all of our international certifications. We got back the end of the month, went to Lethbridge for some extra training, and very literally, while we were in Lethbridge, the second week of March, the entire world shut down. Like it slammed, closed. The hotel we were in stopped taking people. They were turning people away, saying if you've crossed the border, like go sleep in the parking lot. You can't come in. It was wild. We weren't sure what was going to happen, how we were going to get back and get functioning. And after some serious conversations, we decided to be wheels up April 1st, no matter what. So that's kind of what we did, and we haven't looked back.
So because the business does restoration for mold and biohazards, does your business have anything to do with COVID, or is that it you do? Okay, so tell me about your services that would be to COVID, because that's something that's so top of mind right now.
It really is. It really is. One of our largest contracts that we have is actually working with Loblaws out at the GTH, out at the Global Transportation Hub. So they have a fleet of 40 trucks that roll in and out, and they're essential service. They're transporting food all across the country from Winnipeg to Vancouver. But these trucks are not individually owned by the drivers. They are owned by Loblaws, so they're shared vehicles. So that means that a driver can go from Regina to Winnipeg back to Regina, to Swift Current, back to Regina, get out of the truck. Somebody else gets in and they go Calgary, Vancouver, and back. So that's multiple drivers and multiple trucks in multiple cities with different hotspots and different caseloads. So we disinfect the trucks in between every shift in order to make sure that they are safe for the drivers going back and forth. But then if there's anybody who gets sick, if somebody gets sick and they have to go get tested, we actually have the skills and the abilities to go and clean the vehicle to make sure that it is safe and it's not contaminated because, frankly, people sneeze into their air vents in vehicles.
Yes.
They do. Like, you can be the best person coughing into your arm, but you get in your car and you sneeze directly into that air vent.
Yes.
So we can
I've never thought about it that way, but that is such a good point because I've seen those videos where they show how a sneeze spreads.
Yeah.
Right. And when the kids were little, we used to talk about that kind of thing. So they understood. But yeah, you think about the spaces it goes that you can't get to.
Well, yeah. So if, we've luckily not been requested to clean in a home or in a space that has had a person that's COVID positive. But we have done preventative. We've consulted with a lot of businesses in town because Puroclean Canada actually has the exclusive rights nationally to a very specific product that keeps the microbial and bacterial load down on surfaces. Once you put it on, it stays on, and it stays on for a year. Now, I'm not going to come out and say we can kill COVID. I can't say that.
Exactly.
But I can tell you it kills Norwalk, and that's good for me.
Okay, but wait a second. When you say it stays on for a year, I don't understand that because a cleaning solution is on and off.
Right. So there's the way that it works is that we go in, and we did this on the trucks. We've done it on the fleet of police cars out in Weyburn, all sorts of places, not just vehicles, but buildings and businesses. We go in and we disinfect. We use a Health Canada approved, COVID kill certified disinfectant. Go in, clean the surfaces, make sure all the high touch points are clean. Because frankly, when you go in, a really good example is when you walk into the washroom. You open the bathroom door and you don't push the door open with the handle. You put your hand on the door. So all of those things you have to be you become very hyper aware of where people touch.
Hyper aware, yes.
And I think everybody's a little bit of that. So we're even more so aware of where people touch. And disinfect everything. And then after the disinfection is done, we go in and we put this on. It's a product that adheres to whatever surface it is put on. It molecularly bonds to the surface. So personally, I have it on my computer. I have it on my mouse. I have it on my work desk. I have it on my cell phone. That's important. I have it on my steering wheel in my car. Once it's on, it's on. And cleaning practices, regular general cleaning practices won't remove it. It stays in place for about up to a year. And it actually attracts the bacteria and the germs and then penetrates it, kills it on contact, keeps the surfaces cleaner, and just continues to work. And actually, the more you actually wipe it, you don't have to use Lysol, you can just soap and water. But the more that you wipe the surface, it actually, the best way to describe it is it looks like a bed of nails. The germs are punctured, they kind of get in there. So the more that you wipe it and clean that out, the better the product works. Yeah, so we're doing a lot of that sort of stuff. Protecting businesses as they're trying to open, as they're trying to get people coming back in. People are really nervous about coming back into work a lot of times.
Exactly. And you hear that from so many businesses, whether it's an office-based business or an industrial-based business, that fear of opening right now. And I think for a lot of, especially that local business, small business, family business, like if they don't open, their likelihood of survival is limited. And so it's the devil on both shoulders. Like, what do I do?
Well, and then you add in the extra cleaning protocols that like salons are a good example. The extra cleaning protocols that salons are supposed to do. So, one of the things you have to think about when you're opening your business is, do you have the staff to clean up to the expectations of not only the government, but of your clients that are coming in?
Yes.
So you can have some people who are very nonchalant and don't really care, but there will be people who come in and really do watch what you're touching, what you're cleaning, what you're doing. And that's right down from the front door, opening and closing the front door, to the counter at the salon, to the pin pad that you're using, to the shelves where your product is held. And a lot of places don't have the funds, especially after COVID, to hire that extra staff that you just about need to follow everyone around to clean after the fact. So what this stuff does is it's that safety net in between the cleanings, right? It just sort of makes sense.
Exactly. One of the things that I have found really interesting, I don't want to say post-COVID, but sort of, and I can't even say tail end of COVID, but what I found interesting at this point in the process is there's a little bit more comfort level. So we're not afraid to leave our houses anymore. But when we go places, things like the pin pad, the pen you have to sign with, they keep handing the same one back to people. And I've mentally made that note. I'm like, oh, I got to put my own pen, someplace, and then you forget or you don't have it with you. But it's those contact points in the process that are so much more difficult to figure out. And I'm surprised more businesses aren't either, here's my pen jar, here's one this morning, here's the next one, and now I'll disinfect at the end of the day. I've yet to see that.
I've seen it in one store.
Did you see it in one?
They had 2 jars. You take from the clean jar, right? Put it in the dirty jar. That goes to the side.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think honestly, like, they almost all need that. If I rounded up the pens in our house, I could probably donate them to a business for 3 months so they could do it, because we've got dozens.
Oh, exactly.
And it's those small contact points that you forget about. Like you said, nobody uses a door handle. We all push on a door, right? And I've become like the queen of using my elbow, right? Or, the back of something. And same with the kids. Every time I see the kids, I'm like, elbow.
Yeah.
Right? We're screaming at the kids to do this. So no, it's a crazy time that we're living in. So aside from the COVID stuff, tell me about the restoration side of the business. What, have you still been very busy, or, because people aren't going anywhere, has that part been quiet?
It's been quiet. It's been quieter, but we're still busy. We're still active. And frankly, if you're calling us, you're having a really bad day.
Bad day, exactly, Dianne. I'm like, Dianne, I really enjoyed this conversation. I never want to talk to you again.
Exactly right. Yeah. My friends are like, good job. That's fantastic. I don't ever want to see you in my house. Like, never. Because if you're in my house, it means that something's gone completely sideways. So, in June and July, when we got over those rains, I live in the Douglas Park area, and there was one storm where right in the middle of the storm, Douglas Park lost power, like right in the middle of the storm. And it was one of the heavier ones that we got, and a lot of people's sump pumps failed. So there was
I never thought about that. Yes.
Yeah, basement flooding, a lot of basement flooding with the rains in June and July. There's not been so much for severe damage when your water heater bursts, because water heaters can burst at any point in time. But with people being home, they catch it in a couple of hours rather than 12.
Right. Yes.
Right. So there's still things happening, but they're happening smaller scale. Fires, there's been less fires in the city. One of the things with bio is that we're actually trauma certified as well. So that's an interesting, that one I could, I get lots of really interesting questions about that one, but we are actually crime scene and trauma certified. So.
Really? So if you were doing cleanup, you would have the ability to recognize something that's, I'll say, out of the ordinary or nefarious?
Sometimes, yes. Most times we're called in after the police have already done their job and taken their photographs. And then there's an unfortunate family who has to go back to a house that's the house is a victim as well as the family is.
Exactly.
And they don't need to be re-traumatized. So we go in and we clean or tear out or and do whatever we need to get rid of the biological evidence that's left.
Okay. Yeah. When you put it that way, I understand what we're talking about now.
Yeah.
Now that you see it that way. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So take me back, because deciding to start a franchise or
Yeah.
purchase a franchise, that's a big decision.
That's huge.
And when I think between a bakery and a restoration, like that's a really wide range.
Yeah.
So what drove you to the franchise market? I know I've done a little bit of research myself, and never did find the right opportunity.
Well, and see, we couldn't either. Like I said, we've been looking for a long time. The values that my husband and I hold, they weren't there. There was a very competitive zone between different franchises sometimes, where they sort of pit one franchise in one area against the other, and there's not a lot of communal education and sharing knowledge.
Right.
And one of the things that really drew us to this one was the people. So Canada's been around for about 10 years. The US side of Puroclean's been around for longer.
Okay.
But the Canadian group, when we started calling individual owners, when we started talking to Gord, the head of the national office, when we started talking to people really seriously and saying, how do you feel within this network? Is it a network that supports you? Is it a network that promotes the education? Because we are in the business of helping people. Is this something that we are focusing on, or is it all about, pull out your walls at 2 feet and run it through to the insurance company? And the focus is really people-centered. Their tagline is the paramedics of property damage, and they really actually do focus like paramedics. And the different owners, there's one here, Saskatoon, Winnipeg, Lethbridge, Calgary, and then a couple more in Alberta, and then BC. But those are the ones that we're closest to. They really are like a family. They like to say that they're like a family. They're definitely a network. They work together. If we have any questions, we can call them. If they have questions, they can call us. That's what drew us to this one. Besides the fact that it's people-centered, it's customer service-based, it really ticks all of our boxes in terms of skill sets. It was the people that own these franchises that really, truly want to help people on their worst day.
Exactly. And I would think that having, I'll say, sister companies in all these different locations also creates a large network opportunity for you. So when a contract like Loblaws comes up, if you need multiple locations, you just pick up the phone and go, hey, Jim in Winnipeg or so-and-so in Calgary.
Frankly, that's what happened.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened. I didn't source the original contract on this. Calgary did. Calgary has 18 trucks at their distribution hub, and they said, hey, you guys are doing a great job. GTH has 40. Do you have someone in the area? And Calgary said, absolutely. So then we negotiated our contract with them.
Oh, yeah. See, I that's exactly why you'd want to look at a franchise for that type of business opportunity. Yeah. So that's awesome.
The other thing is too, is that when there's a CAT event, so a catastrophic event, they call in the owners from other locations to assist. So when Fort Mac burned, our teams were one of the leads on there. Our Lethbridge team was one of the leads on there. So Lethbridge, Calgary, Red Deer, Edmonton, they all went to Fort Mac. And those guys were locked in for 8 weeks. Once you got on site, you weren't leaving. So the first thing they remediated was an apartment building. They set it up for living spaces for the teams and the crews. And then they set up an office stronghold in on the main floor. And brought in office desks because they knew they were going to be there for a while, and they sat there. They were locked in very literally for 8 weeks and were not allowed to leave. Canada Day, there was a smaller event. It was still classified as a CAT event, but so Calgary got the hail. The Puroclean office in Calgary has 200 individual insurance claims on the books. after that hail.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
that's 200 homes.
Yeah, that's
Um,
huge.
and Calgary is actually a smaller office. So one of our competitors I know has about 500.
Oh, holy
So they are still in the midst of doing that, and
Mhm.
Canada Day rolls round, and Lethbridge gets its entire season of rain in 36 hours. So by the time I finished my barbecue on Canada Day, I got a call at 7 o'clock that night saying it's raining in Lethbridge, and I said, "Yep." And they said, "No, you don't seem to understand.
It's still raining in
It's
Lethbridge.
still raining in Lethbridge." And by the next morning, they had 76 individual homes that they had been called to assist and couldn't handle it.
Yeah, well, exactly. Oh
So we
my
picked
god.
up our team and we moved to Lethbridge for 10 days, and we went and
Hmm.
assisted Saskatoon as well. They picked up their team, they moved to Lethbridge. Unfortunately, they had to leave early because then North Battleford flooded.
Oh my goodness.
So,
And you will remember weather instances now for the next 20 years where the rest of us, like, we
yeah.
block it out and we forget. Oh my goodness. Yes, when you start to put it in that context, you're right. Weather is such a huge factor in everything, and we get it too, and we have a neighbor who, when we get the big storm, we feel terrible for them because you can literally see the water going like this into their
Oh,
basement. And yeah, we feel for them, absolutely.
yeah,
And I know they've had to do cleanup more than a few times.
yeah.
So think about those. So you've walked into someone's house in Lethbridge.
Mm,
They've just, their basement is literally floating at this point.
mhm.
How do you help them? How do you dig deep and just, like, oh my goodness, you're seeing the antiques, the pictures of great grandma and grandpa, like, how do you emotionally help them but then help yourself as well?
Well, I think that that's where our backgrounds come in hand, in really handy in this. I worked in mental health for 10 years. I'm not a mental health professional in terms of, a psychologist or psychiatrist,
Mhm.
but I have enough experience that we've sort of come up with a plan that we divide and conquer.
Okay.
So we go into a home. I've got all of the paperwork. I've got all of the really, like, the things that we're gonna have to explain 3 or 4 times
Mhm.
because they're very worried about their antiques. They're very, like, grandma's got 6 inches of poop in her basement and all of her stuff's down
Exactly.
there,
Yep.
right?
Mhm.
So I sit upstairs with her in the kitchen and let my guys go in, let my project manager go in and make an assessment. And the first thing that they start with is photographs.
Okay.
They take photographs of the scene, they take photographs of absolutely everything
Mhm.
and document all of the content. So anything that belongs to a homeowner that needs to be moved or disposed of has to be documented. So if we're going to pack it, we have to document that it's put in a box. If we're going to throw it away, we have to document it. And the homeowner has to actually sign off that these things are going to be disposed of before we can
Mhm.
dispose of their property, right?
Exactly.
So the boys start that process, and then they bring in um, really big cleaners, fans, vacuums. Like, I call it a shop vac. It's
Mhm.
huge. It's
Exactly. It's like a monster size shop vac.
Yeah, yeah. It's a monster size shop vac. I've got a big blue one and a big red one, and my 5-year-old's about as tall as they are. And and the guys just start pulling this stuff out, and then I put on my boots and go and help them as well. But my job's mostly to worry about the details, worry
Mhm.
about making sure that the homeowner's understanding what's happening, being that
Yeah.
liaison between them and the insurance company, and making sure that what we're doing is covered.
Mhm.
Because the last thing you want to happen is for us to get halfway through something and the insurance company to say, "Oh yeah, no, that you don't have any coverage. That's a private pay," and
Mhm.
the person's stuck with thousands of dollars on their bill,
Exactly. Yeah, and we
right?
all count on that. Diane, believe it or not, we are at a time today. This time goes so fast when I'm
It
learning about
really
other people's
is.
businesses. It does. Just as we wrap up, can you tell us a little bit about where people would find you, whether it's social media, your website, things like that? Can you let us know how to contact you?
Absolutely. We are on Facebook at Puroclean Regina. We are at puroclean.ca. /Regina online if you want to look at our website. And you can Google us. Google now recognizes that we exist. So that's another another thing with COVID that's very slow getting set up for new businesses. So Google recognizes we exist now, so you can type in Puroclean Regina and find us pretty quickly.
Perfect. That sounds awesome. So thank you very much for joining me today. I really did enjoy the conversation, but I hope to never see you in my home. And I know you hear that all the time.
I completely understand. No offense taken at all.
Oh, goodness. And, I really enjoyed hearing a bit about your story on choosing a franchise, because I think a lot of business owners go down that same path. Do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? Right. And it's finding fit. So knowing that you and Greg took the time to find the fit, I kudos to both of you for doing that homework and taking the time.
Oh, thank you.
So I will be back for our next show in just a couple of weeks. But if you'd like to be a guest on the show, you can email me at barb@googlegirl.ca or reach out on Facebook and Instagram at AboveTheFoldCA. Just a reminder, you can even submit your questions in advance of the live show on our Facebook page. I'm your host, Barb McGrath, local business owner and Google Girl. Remember, you worked hard for your success. Don't keep it a secret. Bye for now.